my dog, she's up an hour early, like, where's my dinner?
Years are going.
Okay.
429 it is.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to call the November 6th Planning Commission meeting to order. Does anyone have anything to add to the posted meeting agenda?
No.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting that were handed out prior to the meeting?
I have a question or a comment, whichever
Sure.
way. Regarding the 160 Clearview Avenue, should we also have a little note in there or something, one sentence saying that the 2013 Center Region Comprehensive Plan shows that parcel as C2 or as commercial?
Yeah, we could add that. We talked about that at the meeting, so we could add that.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Anyone have anything else that they would like to add? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting? Okay,
Second.
okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so we approve the minutes. Number 3 on our meeting agenda is comments from the public. Does anyone from the public have any comments that they would like to say to the Planning Commission? If you have something on an item that is on our meeting agenda for tonight, we just ask that you wait until we get to that on our agenda. Anyone on Zoom have comments? Anyone in person have comments? Okay, hearing none, we will go to line item 4, which is a sketch plan for the 147 Cradle Lane. And I just want to just go over what's in boldface, is that this is purely for us to review. And at this time, just to be clear, we are not taking any formal action on this. So I'm going to open it up to the Planning Commission, and if anyone in the public has any comments, to review the sketch plan.
Yeah.
So CHA, on behalf of their client Aptitude Development, submitted a sketch plan for the property located at 147 Cradle Lane. It's along Fox Hill Road. The property is located within the planned airport district and encompasses all 3, the non-residential area, mixed-use area, and residential area. The project proposes to utilize an access connection off of the adjacent cul-de-sac, which is Champions Drive from Burnell Road. And the project proposes 2 industrial buildings, multifamily housing consisting of detached and townhome unit types, a clubhouse, parking, and stormwater facilities. As Rich has said, that this is just a sketch plan. Township staff may not provide comments for the MPC. And there is guidelines there per section 707A out of the MPC referencing that. In your packet, you do have CHA's letter detailing the project along with their concept plan. And then at the table, you were given prototypes of the proposed dwellings for that site. We do have Brian Bouchard on Zoom, and I do believe we have other representatives from CHA here as well to address the planning commission.
Is it possible to see those pictures?
We have
We'll
the
put them up then, yep.
Thank you. I guess my question, because, should I just?
Yeah, you're fine. I don't know if you wanted to say something, sir?
I'm with CHA, Don Rose.
Yes.
That would be great.
We just asked that you go to the mic and identify yourself.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I'm Don Rose, project manager and engineer for CHA. With me is Rob O'Brien from Aptitude Development, the applicant and owner of the parcel. You covered most of the items that I was going to discuss with the cover letter. So as the site currently is farmland, and the intent is to develop within the PAD district, which has the distinct zones as described, where we have to have what are considered airport uses, which are mainly industrial commercial uses in the front, and it transitions to a mixed use area in the middle where there's proposed to be a little bit more industrial use, a mix of industrial, clubhouse, residential, and in the further portion, residential uses. Around this parcel today, there is a long-term care facility, a sports complex associated with Penn State, and several multifamily and single-family homes along the Burnell side and agricultural land on the other side associated with Penn State. Down the road, Toftrees is a large multi-purpose neighborhood consisting of student housing, a retirement village, single-family homes, a golf course, and 3 popular restaurants. And obviously down the road from that is University Park Airport. We've, as I said, this conceptual design has the 3 distinct zones, and we have developed this within the zoning bylaw, which allows for doubling the intensity because this is over 100 acres. So any development over 100 acres can double the development size or the intensity for the homes and the industrial use itself for square footage. As noted, we will develop Cradle Lane and as well propose a secondary access off of Champion Drive, noting that it probably for fire and access, and as well as to sort of separate out some of the residential from the industrial commercial uses to have multiple access points on the site. We have done preliminary research on the availability of sewer, water, and electric utilities. Within Fox Hill Road is a 20-inch water main and we have found out that this likely will need a pumping station, but there is sewer available on Burnell Road. As was stated, our intent is to work with the township and the staff to develop and build this project. And while this is a preliminary plan, we would appreciate any feedback that we can get from you as we go to move forward to a full master plan development. This is a significant financial investment, so the more feedback we can get early on in the process to see that, this is in tune with what you would want, that the neighborhood would want, would be appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Ellen, you had started to mention something before we had our
I was
speaker.
just trying to, I guess I need to get into this. Yeah, I was just trying to, I didn't really understand the traffic access and all of that. I'm a little bit confused about that.
Sure. So the existing access is off of Cradle Lane, but we're intending to also provide a secondary access off of Champion Drive. If you look from the aerial that you had earlier, it shows that there's Penn State, yeah, right there. That one was fine. There's, but with the Penn State development next door, there's actually Champion Drive up here that would provide a secondary access, which would be beneficial. It's a paper street that goes right up to the property line.
I'm familiar with it. It just seems awfully, like this seems like a lot of development for that, level of roadway. So I'm just curious about that.
No, the roadway itself will be developed as required for width and as I said, the access, we're trying to sort of separate out some of the access for the residential development from the commercial uses. And so pushing, if we can, the commercial uses towards Cradle Lane and maybe some of the access off of Champion Drive. These are full widths roadways that are similar in kind to other residential developments in this area.
And they're all going to dump out onto Fox Hill Road? Is that what you said?
No, we're looking to split access because Burnell Road is up.
Okay.
Champion Drive dumps into Burnell.
Okay.
Ellen, just to let you know, whenever this would come through, PennDOT would have to look at this because both Burnell and Fox Hill are PennDOT roadways, and they would be required to do a traffic study.
Okay.
I do have one question. The interior streets, are they going to be township maintained, or is that something within the development community would be maintained?
That's something we would coordinate with you to determine.
I have a question about the little cutout parcel there just to the left of that industrial building.
Yes,
Are they still going to have access to that parcel?
we would have to provide access to that parcel
Okay.
or coordinate some sort of alternative. But right now, as you know, it's a residential parcel that's cut out of there, and they have their driveway runs down Cradle Lane into their parcel.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I've got another question just about, since all the access is from Fox Hill and Champion Drive to Burnell Road, I was just wondering if you guys thought about, I'm not sure if it's even possible, about a secondary access to kind of the.
The residential in the back?
Yeah.
So it's my understanding that there is the potential for that. I don't know how amenable they will be to that, but from my understanding, it was required to be zoned that they provide access. Whether that's
Who is the they that will?
the neighborhood in the back. So this residential 500-foot zone is an offset from that residential area. And so my understanding is that they are required to provide access, but nobody's gone through that route with them.
Yeah, I mean, it feels just a little, I mean, I know it's over by the airport, but it could easily become sort of, just a one way in, one way out, another one of these neighborhoods that's kind of like trapped in no man's suburbia, which, I worry about stuff like that.
Understood. Yeah, it's something that we would explore. But again, I'm not sure how amenable they're going to be to having additional access. But my understanding is that it has been planned that they would provide, there would be access.
Okay.
Now, that might just be emergency only. I don't know the specifics, but
And I don't know if it has to be all the way at the back either, like, even if I don't know about the residential, that buffer area that's on the north side of this plan, with the residential area there, between that and Burnell Road,
There's
who owns
no
that?
access on there. Those are essentially large, single-family house lots at this point.
Yeah, I wonder if there's one of those that could also, like, if a road could be, like, where you have the dotted line, or the road that kind of dead ends into just the green, in your internal road that kind of dead ends into the greenway there, sort of on the left. I don't know if that road has a name, it doesn't look like it does yet.
I mean, exploring just a back way to Burnell
Yeah,
or
just
something like
just a
that.
back way, another way to Burnell, in case, like, just, if the house is on fire on the other side, you can actually, like, leave the neighborhood still, that kind of thing.
Understood.
Just really quick, my notice is when a house is on fire, most people actually drive into the neighborhood, they don't drive out of the neighborhood. So, quite the opposite. I think this looks good. There's just a few concerns that I have. One, I think it's entirely not enough. I think you guys need more houses in there. I know it's very rare for somebody to say we need more housing. We need more housing. I'd be willing to see less green space and more density. But I would also like to see some public transportation pre-thinking about that, or where buses are going to stop. Because, like you said, these are residential, for this area. Much of the residential in this area isn't, I mean, heck, when a school bus, all it has to do is pull into the center, and it takes the entire roadway, at least in my neighborhood. So I would love to see some thinking, I would love to see some more density. I would love to see some thinking of some cat off to the sides, but right now what we need is much, much, much more housing in Patton Township so that there's a place for all. And I think this is a very good start by you guys. I am concerned about, right now, one way in, one way out. I would love to see Champion push through because that does make the most sense. I would also love to see at some point whether or not you can either get an easement from one of the residential areas or purchase a strip of land. And if we could, if they do purchase a strip of land for that road, if we can, whatever we have to do to sort of assist them in that, that'd be fine too with me. But, my biggest concern is going to be what is staff's thinking on this, beyond the fact that I said I'd love to see them double it, but I know that they also have to go through PennDOT, and that's
The
a process.
bigger issue with that is we already doubled it per zoning code. So right now, we're at the maximum that zoning will allow. And we haven't calculated open space, but we're probably right there. So,
The public transit comment is a good comment, but I will say that CATA doesn't service that area presently, I don't think. They don't go to the airport anymore. But CATA has a new interim executive director who's very forward-thinking and actually just reached out to me last week and said, oh, we'd love to talk about future growth areas in the township and where we can have more access for CATA. So this is something, especially with the Nittany Valley Sports Center also being out there, this is something we could definitely talk about.
I guess my question to you guys is, would you be amenable to putting in CATA stuff if they are willing to come and talk to you guys and say this is what we need? And would you guys see that actually as a help to your cause, or would you see it as just another?
it's definitely something that we would explore. Like I said, that since we maxed out the density, we'd have to go for a special permit in order to exceed the density that's shown on this plan. So we already maxed it out completely.
So what can we do to help them out max it out even more? We need housing.
Well, I think that's an interesting question because, we do need housing, but the housing that we seem to need the most of in Patton Township is the housing that's in the middle, right? We talk about the missing middle. So it's the workforce type housing, the attainable type housing. That's for people that are, 80 to 120 of our area median income, that type. So I don't know what their price point is intended to be, and I don't know if this gets us where we want to go there. The supervisors would have to discuss if they wanted to change it to allow additional density out there. I will also say that I think the traffic is going to be the bigger concern with Burnell and
Yeah.
Fox Hill because PennDOT's involved. And we just had a meeting earlier this week with the airport, and it was College Township, Patton Township, the county was there, Penn State, to talk about the future of the airport and how we can have compatible uses that are supporting the activity at the airport and looking at the zoning kind of globally in that area. Because we want to see more activity coming in and out of the airport because that helps to support our economy. So I don't know that, it's something the supervisors could possibly discuss, but I'm not sure how they would feel about adding additional density into this district.
I have a couple other questions, as long as we're talking about the housing. Are you amenable to making a certain percentage attainable?
You mean affordable housing?
Yeah.
I'd have to,
It's something that we would consider if you guys want to see that as part of the project. It's not something we've necessarily gotten to at this point, but it's a conversation with you guys to see what the best direction for the project is.
I think considering the amount of units that you're looking at, small percent, 5% or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a conversation to be had.
Okay. And the other question is, for the size of it, what are you looking as far as how long it's going to take to build it all out?
Do you have a sense of that yet?
no, it's too early in the process. Yeah, we still have to, do all of the work for the master plan itself. So we're here first for the first step, which is get your feedback, see if we can develop a master plan that works within the feedback from you and the Board of Supervisors, then go out and spend real money. So everything has to be within, obviously, nothing's for free. So it's something that would take, it's gonna take years. When you go to permit it and then get the approvals and all of that and then start constructing. So it's gonna take at least 6 months to permit something like this, at least. Closer to 8 months typically, so.
Yeah, and once permitting is done, what are you seeing, how many phases, and how fast do you see those phases opening?
I think that's, right now, we don't even have what kind of uses we have for the front yet. We have just blank boxes at this time. So it all depends on that, because some of that, the more commercial industrial uses are going to be some of the money makers which may drive the other stuff a little faster, right? So you get a big user, you can pay for the other stuff a lot faster. It takes time. I can't say, like I said, we're very early in the process.
What price point are you thinking of these homes that are going in?
I think it's also a little bit early to say for that. I mean, it depends in part what the density is here, and it depends in part on, some of those conversations regarding affordable housing. We're looking in general to build cost-efficient housing for, the working class in this area. But I don't have a sense of specific rates yet to give you guys.
Well, you've obviously figured out how much each one of these buildings is gonna cost, have you not?
I don't have that off the back of my hand here, and it depends, what the mix is in terms of townhomes versus single-family homes.
Just the answer is yes or no.
I would say I don't have a cost number yet, no. I mean, we're looking at starting actual groundbreaking on something like this after we are getting approvals.
Same question, yes or no?
No,
Thank
not
you.
yet.
Well, I don't think they can really come up with costs and stuff until they
Oh,
get
sure you
closer
can.
to purchase time, because materials change so much and so does labor.
Right, but you still figure out what the cost is now, how much something is going to cost you now, and then you line it up towards the future. So you should know what it is. I mean, if you're going to economically go for anything, you know what it's going to cost, and you know what it's going to cost now. You know what the profit margins should be.
So I think what we're hearing is that they're very early on in
Yep.
the process. And one other thing that has been discussed with the supervisors, and I was actually at a meeting today with developers in the area and the other township managers, is looking at creating workforce housing regulations for Patton Township, because we've never had those. Right now, State College, Ferguson, and College all have workforce housing ordinances. And one of the things that was discussed was a density bonus, so that if you provided a percentage of affordable attainable units, and we're talking again about that middle, the 80 to 120 AMI, not the lower, so
Penn
that
State
you,
first-year Penn State professor.
or a teacher,
Yeah.
or a nurse, so that you would actually get a bonus then. So one of the things we're going to do with the Planning Commission and the board is in January, we're going to sit down and start having those conversations about what that ordinance would look like. The developers that we spoke with today are all the local developers, but they were, Bob Poole and Era and Alex and all of them, and they were very interested in having more discussions and talking about flexibility. So if we're able to mesh our time frame with their time frame, that, it might align that we could do something and get some attainable units out here, which would be fantastic. But if it doesn't fit with their time frame, obviously it doesn't fit with their time frame. But those discussions are starting, and they will be starting in Patton Township in January timeframe.
One other comment towards the attainable or affordable housing, as far as a percentage. Patton Crossing, they got more units put in above what's normal because they provided more affordable housing.
And I think the developer would be interested in that too, getting bonus units in providing something like that. That's, obviously, it helps both the township itself and the developer to meet both goals, right? So.
I have a question about green space, and I don't know if it's for you guys or for them. Is that like a possibility to turn some of that into some type of playground or park? Or is that not considered green space?
That would probably be something we would develop in the master plan, because they would have a parkland requirement.
Okay.
That they would be able to either dedicate you know, whether it's putting paths through there to get credit for parkland or giving the township a fee in lieu. So there's options to look at that point when it comes in as an extra.
Okay, I just thought that that would be a bonus, because this is probably going to appeal to a lot of first-time home buyers and very, very young families, starting families.
And the existing zoning regulations require a significant amount of green space, so it's sort of built into the development already. And what gets used, you know, whether there's paths, there's obviously a community workout area type of thing, you know, it's sort of built into it and into the requirement. So, you know, how it progresses depends on, again, the development and the needs of the development itself.
Okay. I'm sorry, just one more quick question.
Sure.
From me. You are putting in sidewalks on this project, or?
There'll be walking accessibility, and whether sidewalks are required or specifically, you know,
So,
there'll be walkable areas, whether we put sidewalks on one side or something like that, that's something we would work with, and if it's a requirement or a highly, you know, not suggested rather than a requirement. Obviously, we want people to be able to use the green space area that is associated with this. And like I said, there is if you scroll, sorry, to the other side a little bit more, you can see that we have a clubhouse. So we're going to have outside area, and we want that area to be utilized by the people with, you know, the residents in this area. So we want them to have walking access as well, not just driving access.
Can I ask a question just about this might be for us, about the future of sort of the airport, and in that conversation, was the airport, like, is their future, do they I mean, of course, they want to grow, you know, like everybody wants to grow. Do they think that that's like a thing that's potentially going to happen? I'm worried, the only reason I ask is like I'm worried about a community that's this close to like the airport. If the airport succeeds in their mission to grow their services, and then all of a sudden it becomes like a flight path or something.
So we had a long conversation actually about that at the meeting. Back when the planned airport district was first done, and this was back in, I think, the 1980s, and the folks on the airport authority, a lot of them were around back then, so they remembered the conversation that was had with the Patton Township Board of Supervisors about how far away you want to locate homes from the airport because of the decibel levels and where the lines were. And they noted that planes have gotten a lot quieter in the interim, in the ensuing years. It's also extremely difficult right now because the airline industry is having such issues with getting pilots that trying to get more airlines to come to our airport has been difficult. So sort of one of the things we discussed as possibly a next step was to actually do a market analysis that they could present to the airlines saying, look at the demand that we have. And, you know, they hadn't done one in a long time, and they were talking about not just our county, but Lock Haven and Altoona and Bedford and other areas where they can't get to an airport that has more flights than just one or two, so this would provide access. So it's still all kind of in flux because of, a lot of it is because of the way the airline industry is right now. But I think when this was all planned, it was intentionally planned by Patton Township so that these homes would be outside of the decibel area, and so that it wouldn't be disruptive.
I actually live in the flight path.
Is it disruptive?
Not really, you get used to it. I mean, we're on what I would call final approach,
But maybe if there was 3 times as many, it would be disruptive. I don't know.
And I also don't see us ever becoming like as big as the Harrisburg airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think adding some more flights, they had tried a flight to Charlotte earlier in the year, and then the airline abandoned that flight, and they were only flying it on Saturdays. And the point that we all made was there's a lot of people coming in and out of town during the week for contracts at Penn State or business travel and things. So looking at maybe beefing up that travel so that folks can leave and get somewhere a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I would just like to say, I think in your sketches that you have here, everything has a sidewalk on it, and I think with the density as close together as it's going to be, and especially since there's like one way in and one way out, unless well, even if there was like something on the other side to alleviate traffic patterns, I think you really need to consider putting sidewalks on both sides.
Okay, yeah, we're not opposed to it, it just hasn't been determined, if we're gonna provide it, typically not on both sides, but at least on one side, and depending on the route that we would, predominant route that we would have in the development itself. But yes, I mean, these are pretty pictures that architects come up with that make everything look beautiful, and then, I've walked a couple of the places around here, there's no sidewalks in some of the locations, or they die pretty quickly, so, but definitely, we would look at adding sidewalks.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about a subdivision that has maybe 30 or 40 houses in it, maybe it doesn't need to have sidewalks, because you can have fairly wide roadways, but you've got quite a few homes here, and then after the discussion we had over last month and the month before about taking that area and taking it from R1 to R2?
R3.
Or to R3. One of the main things that people were talking about was, when it was developed 40 or 50 years ago, they didn't have sidewalks.
Right.
But now that there's so much more traffic and everything, because things have added on, but there's only like one or two ways in and out,
Yep. Yeah,
The top
we-
street
it's
is a good
definitely
example.
a little bit more dangerous. So I would want you to really consider that as you're going in, just for safety kind of a thing.
Understood, yeah.
Okay, are there any other?
Question, Bertie? I see a question. No? Well, I'm going to second her opinion that, yeah, especially considering that I think, knowing the board of supervisors, that they would be open to discussions of a density bonus if there was, if there was attainable housing, like you said, in that percentage point. But I also do know that they're really up on walkable areas, and especially with that little commercial zone that you're going to have, some boutique restaurants, even if you guys have to put them in and run them yourself. But a walkable neighborhood is going to be
It's a plus.
is a plus. And you have a winner here, because I think you'd be one of the first really planned out walkable neighborhoods in the area.
Understood, thank you.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was going to say, is I just don't think it makes any sense to have like a clubhouse area and not have the sidewalk piece. But I think, I guess it sounds like, based on the discussions, do we need to have the board explore adjusting the density, or is that going to happen come the new year? It sounds like it's pretty high on the radar.
Yeah, it's higher on their radar, but what we'll do is, when we put this on the board's agenda for next week, the 15th, I'll make sure that I make note that there was a discussion of, could there be a density bonus in exchange for some attainable housing? Because again, I think that the conversation I had with the board at their meeting on the 25th was, let's have that first step, which is to get you guys together with them, and let's start talking. Misty Schoonover from the Center County Housing and Land Trust is ready to go. She's ready to come in and help us start looking at regulations. And College and Ferguson in particular have pretty successful regulations we can pull from. So I think there's some interest in looking at that further.
How long will that process take? Do you have any idea?
Probably a couple months. It depends on.
Oh, that quick?
Yeah, it depends on how long it takes to kind of flesh out the framework of what we want in the ordinance. But Missy's been phenomenal since I've been, talking with her at these meetings, and she's raring to go. She's raring to get out here and get us some framework.
So
I
by the
think-
time these guys go for like permits and stuff like that, we'll have that ordinance in
We'd have to
place.
have the ordinance in place before they would submit a plan.
Oh, okay.
So, again, we'd have to see if we could align with whatever their timeline is.
Right.
And it might be possible, I hope it's possible, if this is something that the supervisors want, but if it's not, it's just not.
One more, not question for you guys, more for us. Based on how they're zoned now and how they've laid everything out now, are they currently beholden to a number of cars on the street issue, or have we thought about the street parking since?
So this is just a sketch plan. So
I know.
We haven't gotten into that level of detail. We don't review sketch plans.
Okay.
So we wouldn't see that until we would see the master plan and then the land development plans.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so just to kind of summarize, so I think the three highest priorities is to discuss the housing density, to try to work on getting more than one way in and out, and to emphasize that, I think we all value to put the sidewalks in. I think. And attainable housing in line with the density. So I think those are kind of the four main points.
Can
So-
we get them more density for attainable housing?
Absolutely.
Can they make it a wonderful, walkable community? And can we make it cost-effective for them?
Right.
Because you're not doing this out of the kindness of your heart.
Rich, do you want to see if anybody from the public might have something?
Yeah. I think I mentioned it before, but go ahead, yes.
You have to go up to the mic.
Just go up to the mic, please, and
Thank you.
state your name for the record.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Julie Bogdash, and I'm on the board of Timberton Circle, which is the development that you were pointing out that's at the back of the end of this neighborhood. So I'm coming at this from a slightly different perspective. You provided renderings of what the houses were going to look like, but do you have renderings of what the townhouses are going to look like?
No, we just provided preliminary sketches of what this is at this point, just to give a taste or a flavor of what has been developed. Yes.
Okay. And the assumption is all of these places will be for sale? They won't be rentals?
That's to be determined.
I was just concerned because the developer is a student housing developer, and I was just concerned that it would be focusing on student housing versus good housing for the community.
Student housing is good housing for the community.
No, I agree, but in my opinion, it can generate more cars per unit than what you might expect. And I'm very concerned about the cars that are going to be on Burnell and on Fox Hill, because if you're coming from Toft Trees and you come up around that turn, and if you're going to turn left onto Cradle, I worry that traffic will back up because of traffic coming from the airport. It's going to be difficult to turn left there. I also know that if I go down Burnell at 5 or 6 o'clock on an evening when basketball practice is being let out, nobody stops at the stop sign from Champion to Burnell, and it's just dangerous. So if you're going to add 1,000 more cars, I know they won't all be traveling at the same time, but I'm just very concerned about that
Well,
traffic.
And again, that's something that'll be looked at when we would see a land development plan.
Right,
There'd have to be a
right.
traffic study.
And the traffic study, any change on the traffic study, as we found out, would have to be remediated by the developer. So there
Right.
would have to be some sort of remediation by the developer for whatever the impact is. So for example, going to your Burnell, maybe that gets turned into a traffic circle, maybe that qualifies for a traffic light, that's DOT.
PennDOT.
Yeah, it's all PennDOT road, so I know we don't have any control of that here, but it is a concern. Has there been any impact studies done, or will there be impact studies done on what impact this development may have on the wells of the people that border all around it, as well as those of us that are down in Timberton Estates?
When this would come in as a land development plan, the plan gets sent out to UAJA, State College Borough Water Authority, so it gives them the chance to comment on that.
But do they
But
take
as far as
wells
the
into
location
plan?
of the wells on the private properties,
Mhm.
I mean, depends on probably where their location is at on their property. Those parcels, I can tell you, all have a master plan, so there is a designated percentage of open space required on each one of those parcels.
I was just concerned whether runoff from this current farm that might be feeding into our wells, whether there would be runoff from new construction that would contaminate the wells.
They would have to have proper erosion and sedimentation controls in place at the time of construction.
And their stormwater plan will be reviewed by our engineer and also reviewed by the Center County Conservation District. Yep.
Okay.
So would they have their own community well for this plant area?
No, they have water.
They have public
Public water.
It would be public, okay.
Yeah, we don't have that on the opposite side of the street.
Okay.
This property, if you drive on Burnell and you look over towards where this property is, it's at a higher elevation than the gymnastics center or the townhouses that are currently there. Is it going to stay at that elevation, or when they build it, will it come down at any level? or-
Again, this is a sketch plan.
Yeah,
so
okay, that's fine.
topography- Yeah, topography hasn't even been determined.
Okay.
So to also answer your question about stormwater, right now, you've got a farm that just lets water wherever it goes, right?
Oh, I know, yeah.
It goes untreated, so if you're talking about wells or anything like that, they don't do anything, so if you get nitrates or anything like that, you don't have the same stormwater issues
Right.
when you develop it. I mean, you have other issues, but we also have to develop stormwater, and there's a required amount or percentage of stormwater on this, not just the treatment, but also running enough for everything that we develop there.
Okay. My last, two more questions, sorry. Is it possible at some point to be provided with the distance from the center of Timberton Circle, which is the road, yeah, the cursor's on there right now, from there to where the first house would be? To be totally honest, we're not 100% certain where our property line is.
Well, so we provided at least a 50-foot buffer at this point to the green space that's shown on there, that dark green right there, and then it's probably another 50 feet to the first house.
Okay, so
it's
100 feet, okay,
And then
okay.
just a note, for the residential 500, there's a limitation within that 500 feet that actually has a lesser density
Right.
than the other zones itself.
Right, and that's why the single family are back there versus the townhouses, I
Correct.
assume. Yeah, okay. And then my last question is light poles. How many and where? and-
So that, again, this is a sketch
Sketch,
plan.
okay,
So
okay,
that wouldn't be determined until we see a land development plan, so that's further down the process.
okay.
I suspect by your question is you really like sort of what's called known as the dark light initiative, where there's not so much excess light going up into the air that the light stays on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, my
so-
house is right across the street from this development. I currently have a beautiful wooded tree thing that I'm looking at. Occasionally, I can see the lights from Beaver Stadium. I mean, the glow of the lights from Beaver Stadium, you know, because we're full.
Everybody in this.
Say, yeah, you know, but I would prefer not to be staring into light poles that are 100 feet from my house, that's all I'm saying. So, but yeah, the diffused light.
So what do you
And to
think?
answer that, generally, most developments now is LED and downward facing. Nobody wants, I mean,
Right,
all
yeah,
development at
totally
this point
understand.
doesn't want to be sticking light on it. It doesn't serve them. It's a waste of electricity
Yeah.
going down LED and,
Yeah.
you know, shielded, so.
Okay.
We all like the downward light, pollution, and we all understand that, I mean, you know, we can dress any house with lights to make it look amazing and look great and do architectural features with it. But at the end of the day, we all do want to look up and actually see stars and stuff like that. So when you do the lighting plan of it, you know,
Yep.
think about that. But
Okay.
I actually really like the renderings of these houses. I'd like to see more of those. I like this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comment? Sir, go ahead.
My name's Brett Kavit, and I'm in the same development as Julie. Couple comments. One, in 2002 and 2003, I know the Planning Commission as well as the township was going through a process of basically rezoning or looking at potentially rezoning the pad. And I don't know, I think the Planning Commission had a process. I was involved in some of those meetings. What happened there?
Yeah, we had started that process, and then I think we reached a point where I don't think, and this was a little bit before I arrived at the township, but I think from talking with our previous engineer, I don't think any of the options that came up with through that process were things that were really well liked by folks on the Planning Commission staff and the board. So that process has kind of been put off to the side, I think in favor of let's see what happens with this further discussion with the airport, because I think it makes sense if we're looking at the airport and compatible uses in Patton Township, Benner Township, and College Township to look at that globally. So I think that was kind of the last discussion we had. Also, this property is, I think, the last large piece left in the planned airport district. So if this property is going to develop and they're going to develop under the existing regulations, I'm not sure it makes sense to continue down the road of rewriting a zoning district when there is an additional land left in it.
Okay. The other question that I had was just, I know this is a conceptual plan, but when I read through, and I think one of the assumptions the developer has looked at or the consultant has looked at is that they can double the density. And I guess my question to the Planning Commission as well as the township is that your decision or is that an absolute?
And he already said.
Said he
that
maxed
already
it
They
out.
done.
have already designed this by doubling, they've already included doubling the density in this.
I understand that. I guess my concern there is that when I look at, there's three separate areas that are zoned. The residential area on the north, well, not the north, that would be, north as well as the east. Those lots are like 10 acres, and there's one unit. Timberton is close to 40, and there's, 20? And so the density in that residential area is going way, way up. It's extreme in comparison. And I think when we were going through that pad rezoning process, one of the comments, I know I made it, I know a lot of other people made it, was that these are corridors, and especially that residential corridor should be kind of consistent with other properties in the area. And so I guess I'm asking that the Planning Commission as well as the township consider that density issue, especially in this residential corridor. The doubling, if I'm getting the numbers right here, that residential area will have, residential and mixed use will have a total of, close to 400 units. And then the mixed use and the residential is going to have close to 300,000 square feet of industrial buildings. So you're talking about, a massive density increase, especially when it compares to the surrounding area. So that's all I have to say.
The answer to his question of who is the ultimate responsibility for that is going to be the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, be the board, yeah.
So I implore you to look at that density, especially in the residential area.
As long as
compared
that road, though, doesn't, as long as there's not an egress or ingress road into this development that affects your circle will stay fairly isolated.
So we have to drive through Burnell and be impacted.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, what,
Oh, I
that'll be
see.
mitigated, that'll be
Yeah.
mitigated through the traffic study and through Penn.
Yeah, because
what you were-
they would either be putting up signs or lights or something to that effect, or
Yeah, I think-
extra lanes.
Widening, yeah.
I think some of the comments that the commissioners had were, is there access and could there be another through? And there is access allowed, and there's two separate spots that it could go. And one of it, literally it could connect here and here as additional access. So the amount of traffic, which is what Julie was talking about, would be significant with the density involved.
So you're imploring us to implore when they come back with something not to connect to your circle?
I would implore you to take a look at the density issue, because as I read the township, it says you may double. Doesn't mean it has to be doubled. So I think there was a lot of excellent comments made about affordable housing, which we need, and workforce housing, which we need. I'm just saying, when you look at where the density is, Timberton has 40 acres and 20 units. So now you have 120 acres with 400 units. It's a little different, yeah. So I think maybe more of a transition would be more appropriate.
Are you asking for more of a buffer, or, I mean, what is your solution?
Yeah, I think that's the case, but also I would just say, if you look at the zoning map, there are basically corridors here. And what you do with this property will basically, potentially, I think this is Penn State.
That's Penn State land.
Yeah, but potentially those corridors can just continue. And so the decision you make and the direction you give the developer on this specific project is going to have an impact to everything that goes in that area, so.
I think it's also important to note that this area has public water and public sewer, and you do not have public water. Do you have
Correct.
public sewer?
No.
And I think the residential lots above this property also do not have public water and
That's
public
correct.
sewer. So that's why there's more density on this property, because that's what we want to see, right? In areas with public utilities, you maximize and put those houses in areas that have public water and public sewer, because it's actually better for the environment to put houses on sewer and public water. So it's something the supervisors can certainly discuss. And I will say too, if that were to connect to Timberton, if that's something that happens, I previously worked in Harris Township, and we connected a new, more dense development over to Aspen Heights, which is a larger lot development, not unlike Timberton. And I don't think anybody uses that connection, because it's easier to go out to Route 45 in that case. So I don't know that you would get a lot of
And
traffic
Amy,
through the
I know
neighborhood.
those two developments, and the density is, what we're talking about here is totally different.
The density is, it's R1 to an ag zone, so it is slightly similar. But yes, and I don't know that you would get a lot of traffic, is what I'm saying, because people are going to go the way that's going to get them out to the road the fastest, out to Burnell or out to Tuxedo. I don't know that you would get that either, because all of us in the center region have ordinances that require streets to be connected, but to be laid out in a way that discourages through traffic, so that we don't ruin neighborhoods. That was.
Plus our streets not wide.
Yeah, I mean, and that was put in back when Agnes happened, so they don't want to leave anybody marooned, so that's the whole purpose. So that's a conversation again when we would see a land development plan, to look at that.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any other comments? Okay, are we in a position to move on?
Do the land developers want to say anything about the concerns of the community as it is right now, that they've heard and that they?
Yeah, I think you've made some statements along the way. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, we appreciate the feedback. This open discussion allows us to go back and look at this, and then, of course, with the Board of Supervisors, we'll get more feedback and make some determinations. If the workforce, housing, obviously that's very important, access, sidewalks, we've heard all of the comments, and then if it works out that we can get a bonus density, if that's in play, then that's something that might, help both of us at the same time, so.
It also sounds like from the community that we may have to have a conversation with the Board of Supervisors about pulling back from that community just a little bit more and giving them a bonus somewhere else, extending the buffer if possible. So
We've provided on all the edges around 50 to 100 feet of buffer, so we understand that already. We do know that this is going to be dense, so, and there's actually some wet areas in there that also provide density, so, some.
Extra buffer.
Basically,
Buffer.
what we're saying to each other here is to help out with the community concerns that we might want to expand that buffer, but if we do expand that buffer, we need to give you back some more space or density. We need to give you something in return for that.
Yeah,
So.
no, we greatly appreciate, this is exactly what we needed in order to sort of move forward, and again, next to the Board of Supervisors and then beyond that, so thank you very much.
We
I
like
have
to
one more.
take, but we also like to give. So.
I have more of a quick question.
Sure.
For a good portion of the, what are the lot sizes per home? Do you have that sort of?
No, because it's laid out as essentially
Since it's
open, yeah.
Townhouses, so it's just open space in the back? Okay.
Exactly, so
Okay.
it's not laid out as lots or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just all common area,
Yeah.
if you will.
I used to live in one, so. You get your little
Backyard.
pad.
Yep.
Your 2 6-foot, fences that just go that far, and so just enough space to put your grill and your patio.
But that's also your only responsibility for mowing
Maintenance.
or maintenance and all
Yeah,
that
there's
stuff.
no mowing, or if
Yeah.
there was no mowing, you just got yelled at if you didn't pick up the poop.
So, yes.
So, I look forward to seeing more of it, and I actually think you guys are on
Rich.
a good track.
Sorry.
Oh.
Is information about this being shared with the residents that surround this area? At what point is that happening?
Well, so right now, this is just a sketch plan.
Right.
So it's on all of our public agendas that go out to the Board of Supervisors and also on the Planning Commission agenda. So if we were to see a land development plan, we would have to post that property so that people around it would see that it was posted. But we do have the information on our website as well.
That's why we're here.
And that comes up.
Where else would they see that posted besides the website? Would we be sending out something to the actual residents themselves, or?
So we're not required to for a land development plan. That's only in a rezoning that we're required to send that out. We can certainly have Sophie, our communications specialist, when this gets to the level of a land development plan, to make sure that she puts something on our, our Patton Pulse or on our Facebook page or social media,
So that they know to go look at our website?
so they know to come to a
Okay.
meeting. Yep, and also just staying engaged with the meetings as well.
Sorry, one more quick question. How big is the lot that Bob Poole has for sale across the street from Burnell isn't that from Champion Drive?
Most of where the buck was going anything.
Burnell, just on the other side, the buildings that are on the corner of Burnell and Oxbow, the sign was just beyond that, coming down off of Burnell. I was just curious how big that lot was when you said this was the big.
Oh, the site that PKA has listed?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's 9.74 acres.
Okay, I was just curious how much of that back in there was, because you can't tell. So, I was just curious. Thank you.
I had it already.
Thank you.
To our, residents next to this, please come back, please keep your eyes on the website. Your concerns should be our concerns, and while I've made statements that I would like to see even this doubled, I do want to double this as much as I want to, but I also want to make sure that your concerns are met and your needs are also balanced with the needs of the community as well, because that's unfortunately one of the things that we have to do is just putting one house on this is a doubling of everything for the problem.
No, we understand, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to have input.
And the sooner you come to us, the sooner we can let them know, the sooner we can save everybody money, time, heartache, yelling, screaming, protesting, and actually get everybody to yes. And, as was learned by the Board of Supervisors, we even have a committee, a listening committee to sort of get your concerns. So if you two, I guess there's like 5 of you guys, or 4?
Just 3 of us.
Just 3 of us?
We sent it out to everybody, we sent quick notice that we couldn't make it, so we'll definitely send something out for the
So-
Board of Supervisors.
Okay, just to go over, your guys' concern is traffic. We can't answer traffic right now because that's PennDOT, but a traffic study will be done, and they have to remediate any impacts of the traffic. Setback, we'll see what we can do, and.
Yeah, we'd love if you would just take away that whole 500-foot section.
I just don't think we can do that. But, I'm sure we can work as best as we can within the rules and the laws and the choices of the Board of Supervisors to get everybody to yes.
Well, and I think when we first saw this, we were very happy that currently there is no egress into Tiverton Circle, because that's been one of the...
I have to say something for a moment. People speaking are supposed to go to the mic so that
I'm sorry.
people on
So-
CNET and on the videos can hear you.
Sorry. Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for the input.
Yeah. We look forward to seeing you again.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation, too.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you two again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to line item 5, which is the subdivision lands of the K.L. Stewart re-subdivision of Lot 7R, Great Cairn subdivision. And this is located at 374 Meeks Lane in Port Matilda.
So Meese Associates submitted the subdivision plan on behalf of K. Stewart. The property has an existing farmhouse dwelling and a log cabin dating back to 1850 that is used for storage as well as a barn from 1901 and various outbuildings. The property extends across Meeks Lane and includes a family cemetery. The parcel is outside of the regional growth boundary and has a spring and on-site septic. The parcel is traversed by the Nittany Valley Creek. The proposed subdivision divides the property into 2 segments. Lot 7R1 would become 12.15 acres with no new development, maintaining the house, log cabin, barn, outbuildings, and the family cemetery. Areas for a replacement sewage disposal system are identified on the plan. The second segment, which would be lot 7R-2, would be 10.61 acres. It is proposed as a single-family residential lot with on-site sewage disposal areas for primary and backup identified on the plan. A well would also serve the new dwelling. A driveway access would utilize the existing farm lane from Meeks Lane to the site. No new development is proposed at this time. Upon staff's review of the plan, there was a discrepancy between the current deed for the parcel and what appears on the current plan regarding the acreage, right-of-way, and the recently completed survey of the property. Township staff reached out to our solicitor to assist with the matter. The solicitor recommends recording a deed to correct the overall acreage, and then that deed can be referenced on the plan at approval. The deed would recite the description in the current deed of record, accepting and reserving all out parcels, and then state that the parcel is more accurately described by the new survey, which is part of the plan. The township would also need to have a right-of-way agreement between the property owner and the township for the road right-of-way, which was previously dedicated but never formalized by agreement. The right-of-way agreement can then be recorded with the subdivision plan. We do have Mark Toretti here from Pentair Engineering.
They're not, it's Henry.
Oh, sorry, wrong project. Sorry, got ahead of myself.
This isn't Mark's.
We do have Fred Henry online from Henry Surveys to address the planning commission if you have any comments, questions.
In the microphone. Hello, yes.
Sorry, Fred.
Hello, yes, I'm here. Any questions? You've covered the plan fairly well.
Yeah, is there anything that you would like to say before we get comments from the planning commission and or the general public?
Not really,
We've provided, let's see what the.
oh yeah, we've provided a draft deed to your solicitor, Betsy and Dupree. And I guess we're waiting for comments back from her at this time.
Okay, and that's in regards to the deed, because it's not the actual acreage as it currently exists. Okay.
Well, yeah, the acreage, I see what the acreage difference is, actually, now that you've brought it up on the screen here. The county assessment map, or the GIS map, does not show the little panhandle going up to the cemetery that we're showing on our survey. It's to the, like the northeast of this property. There's a little 20-foot strip of ground that goes up to the old cemetery and then has a right-of-way to Hedschool Drive there at the circle. That's not shown on the county GIS map, and I believe that's the reason the GIS system is showing an area that's less than what we're coming up with on our survey.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anyone from the general public and/or the planning commission that has any thoughts on this? So there'll be a response, obviously, from the solicitor to get this solidified before we go.
Yeah, you can take action on this tonight.
Right.
And then it just becomes a condition of the approval.
Okay.
So it can't be signed until it's all figured out.
This is a question that because I'm, a novice at this stuff. Why would we be going through this if there is no plan for development or anything like that? I guess.
Not
I'm
on the
just
big
cu-
parcel,
Not on the,
but the small parcel.
Yeah.
The whole parcel is going to be divided into two.
Right, got that.
So it's a subdivision plan.
Okay,
So even
now I
though-
understand.
So even though
Yeah.
what would be lot 7R1 has all the development with the house, the log cabin.
Right.
the outbuildings,
And that's not going to be developed.
that will not be further
Right.
developed. But the other part, which will be 7R2, is going to be the possibility of a single-family dwelling.
So this creates
Okay.
the lot.
Creates the lot.
Got it, okay, I
But that's
understand.
just the smaller section, correct? The bigger section's not.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
the 12.15
15.
acres is the one that has the house on currently.
That's
And
correct.
The smaller parcel, which would be lot 7R2, would be at 10.61 acres.
And can that be subdivided further?
They just want to put one house, isn't that what it said in the, yeah. That's pretty steep embankment there, though, I mean,
So keep in mind, this parcel, so this is part of Gray Karen subdivision. Gray Karen subdivision actually has 3 phases.
Okay.
So it's the portion to the left, I don't know, what's that address there? So like from 790, 290, 290, and then the whole way over to Heskell is all part of the Gray Karen subdivision.
Okay,
Okay.
So this originally was the mother parcel.
okay,
And it's just been slowly chipped away.
okay.
when they put Meeks in, I mean, was the road not there when they originally had this huge parcel of land? Is that why it kind of got split?
Meeks Lane was originally there when this land was subdivided.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah, so part of, again, across the other side of Meeks Lane is all part of that Gray Karen subdivision.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the 290, the 288, and the 256 are all part of that subdivision? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, do you have a copy of the subdivision plan on the computer? Is that the next plan down, or? There, oops. That sheet, if you can rotate it or counterclockwise 9 degrees.
Yeah.
Either that or zoom in on it, then you can see where the lot lines are.
I can't rotate or zoom in because this bar is in the way.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Oh, wait, there we go.
We have it in our package.
There, you're doing it.
I'm the B team on all of this.
So while the B team is figuring this out, does staff have any comments for us, concerns for us?
Our only concern is getting the correct acreage and the right-of-way agreement taken care of.
Okay. And the replacements, and the replacement sewage disposal system.
Yeah, when they did the subdivision, it
Right.
required to have
Right.
them at the second.
Yeah, they're up on the flat area of the property.
Okay,
Okay.
good to me.
So it'd be a well and then a new on-site sewage.
Oops.
Yeah, I wrote this.
And then how does all the stuff with the discrepancy with the deed, will that be looked at first by
Yeah, the
legal?
township solicitors.
Okay.
She has received the email for that. We just have not received a response back for that.
Okay.
And I assume that the right-of-way agreement also would be contingent on that, too? Okay. Okay, does anyone want to make a motion? Do we have more public comment? Do we have more planning commission comments? Since we can take action on this tonight, knowing that we have one or two other things that we, need to get ironed out.
I motion to approve the zoning, or not zoning, excuse me, I motion to approve the subdivision pending staff's comments, concerns.
With the
Conditional deed of
Yes.
With the
right.
solicitor.
With all of their comments
Yeah.
and concerns.
Being addressed.
listed.
Yeah,
I second.
okay. Any other comment? Okay, all those in favor of approving the plan as per staff's recommendation and getting all the things finalized in regards to the deed and right-of-way, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Okay, great.
Thank you, then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to the next item, which is item 6, which is the reserve preliminary subdivision plan, tax parcel 18-315-068 and 4 zeros. Pentair Engineering has submitted a preliminary plan which proposes a subdivision in the 38 residential lots for the reserve residential development, which is located north of Grayswoods Boulevard between the Marywood and Graysdales community in the rural A1 district.
So I'm going to do a little brief overview, and then I'm going to pass it over to Mark Reddy from Pentair Engineering. So this plan was previously reviewed in 2018, but per the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, it needs to be revised every 5 years to keep active if there's no development being done. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark so he can go through detail. I do want to note that at your spot, you were given a revised street plan, tree plan that Mark had updated for arborist comments.
Thanks, Nicole. Yes, I'm Mark Toretti with Pentair Engineering, and also with me is Tom Jacobs of S&A Homes. They have a contract on the property from the current property owners. Actually, this plan originally was acted on and approved in 2013. We were back in 2018 to get it renewed for the second time, and we're back here again in 2023 for the third time because the 5-year time period has expired on this plan. And a little bit of background of as far as when this plan was originally proposed, there was going to be a sanitary sewer pump station on the property, and then our clients purchased the adjacent property, which is called the Reserve East, and we got that approved, and then it was put on there, and then all of a sudden there was discussions with UAJA on a regional pump station for this area, the Grayswoods, Marywood, and all that time we've been waiting for that to occur, and our subdivision plans keep on expiring, and pretty much just in here to get this renewed again and go through the process on it. I'll give you a brief overview. This property is proposing 41 lots, 38 of them are actually residential lots, then you have 3 open space lots. This is access right now will be off of Grayswoods Boulevard. There'll be a boulevard entrance in, and along with that, an access roadway that connects, if you can go up a little bit further there, Nicole, ultimately, right now, since there's only one way in for this plan, it connects to an emergency access that this property has that goes out to Meeks Lane. It has an easement for that. And also, with regards to the preliminary plan, a easement or for granting right-of-way for a future connection into the Piper Tract was also proposed there if that connection would ever occur by the developer of that tract. So we're looking at working with the township back in the previous plans as far as trying to work on some connections. And then at the same time, this property over to the right is the Reserve East. It's a separate property. It was by the same developer. And we are also showing a connection to that property right in this location here, so that they'll be pretty much planned as one development. It's just timing-wise, they took off as two different developments, two different subdivisions on there. Like I said, we have a road in. We have one loop road around that ultimately connects to Reserve East, but also circles back around this way. That's now I think it's called Pitch Pine Court or Pitch Pine Lane. The road names have been changed because they've expired also. And the road will be a public road. It will have sidewalks on both sides for this development, connection through there. Two stormwater basins are proposed on the site, one over on the right side and one down in the lower area of the site. We've also, and this is back through the planning of this project, originally, either way, pump station is going to be pumping back up into the Marywood pump station, and we had worked out an agreement with the Marywood pump station and UAJA. There's a three-party agreement to allow that connection when it's needed. That has not occurred yet, but like I said, we've all just been waiting for the sanitary sewer service to occur. If you want to go down to the bottom more, show a little bit about along Gracewoods Boulevard. Yeah, the property is with 38 lots. It requires 1.5 acres of open space, and what had been proposed to for some of the open space is on the reserve project, a shared use path that would run along the north side of Gracewoods Boulevard along the frontage of our property, and also within the right-of-way up to the next intersection, and to create part of that linkage that the township had wanted a shared use path on this side. And then with the Reserve East that came in later, that connection is made down to Meeks Lane also, with the shared use path on there. And also, we had left a 50-foot buffer adjacent to the Marywoods property. That's going to be a vegetative buffer as part of it, working with them in their agreement for the easement. Other than that, like I said, public water be coming in off of Gracewoods Boulevard. Public sewer, like I said, we discussed, will involve a pump station at some point in time that will ultimately, may not end up connecting to Marywood based upon the regional pump station layout. So we're still waiting on that and just bringing this in to get renewed for the third time with regards to the zoning, so that we don't lose the zoning, any zoning impacts to it if there are any changes. We did work, there were some new comments with, I know the arborist had some comments on the street trees, and we worked with them and a little bit of give and takes, and I had them in larger clusters. We made them to smaller clusters and more variety along each side of the street. We added a couple more varieties also that he requested, and so I think we addressed his comments on that. I think that's a brief summary of it.
As long as all the trees don't die at the same exact time.
Yeah. That's
the concern.
And their leaves don't fall at the same time, so.
I'll just take they don't die at the same time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this shared use path, is that similar to what we see like on Circleville Road on the one side?
Yes,
That nice big wide
There
path?
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question, what's, this mean? It says with the remainder of the requirement fulfilled with a fee in lieu contribution?
Yes, because we've worked with the township in the past plans as far as what the value of an acre and a half of parkland was, and then we subtracted the cost for the shared use construction on there, and then the rest of that then will be paid in a fee in lieu cost, basically a cash payment or payment to the township for the remainder of the value of the parkland.
Yeah, so the path is 38,750, fee in lieu 1360.
What's the time frame for the sewer and the water? Do we
I'm
know?
sorry?
What's the time frame for the sewer and the water?
10 years ago.
The water, well, the sewer, your guess is as good as mine. That's the issue right now on there, and so.
And that's part of the reason that's holding up the development?
Yes, correct. And that's why this plan has expired several times. But at the same time, the sewer authority does not want them to build their own pump station and then come back later on and they build one where they could get a contribution from them to help for the regional pump station. And so we're waiting for that to occur. They missed a couple of housing booms already, but they want to move forward, as soon as we get the sewer.
Yeah, because I know that pump station's been a discussion further down Meeks as well.
Yes.
And I believe it's also, we've been yelled at multiple times for it, and it's not us.
Yeah, right, yeah. I was trying to rack my brain from a year ago.
I know, it was,
I don't have much up there after the Eagles game, but, okay.
comments, concerns?
Yeah, any comments, concerns, any public comment? Sir, please step up to the mic and state your name and address. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Don Keel. I'm the Vice President of the Marywood HOA. I live at 145 Spring Glen, so we have one of the properties adjacent there. By way of disclosure, I'm also employed by CEDACOG over in Lewisburg. I'm in the transportation department, and I happen to be the LTAP coordinator, so we sponsor all the classes that are brought in here fairly often that the township is involved with. By having a transportation background, one just comment that I'd like to make is, some of you have probably noticed this as well, but with the new development back in Grace Point and continuing traffic that's going there, there's obviously a lot more traffic, and I know some studies are being done there. But we also see a notice in the speeds there that's picked up quite a bit. I'm not familiar with whether anybody has made any comment or looked at even something like a traffic circle where the entrance to Reserve Drive is. I'm not a real big fan of traffic circles, but I wonder in this case whether it might be something that would be a little more justified at this point. We have one farther back, but it's a pretty significant distance from Meeks Lane down to the end of Marywood. So I just wanted to make that comment if it hasn't been brought up for consideration, that it might be something worth talking about some more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to reiterate, your concern right now is speed, traffic impact, speed in general, because the problem is people are speeding in general, but you're suggesting to possibly alleviate that is during the time of the traffic study is asked, would a traffic circle alleviate speeding in general on that? And I know that route pretty well, having to go get my kids from school up there. So
Yeah.
yes.
Well, and I know that, I think one of the, if I'm not mistaken, it's a straight corridor. So even like when I'm coming out Meeks at the church and make a left, I don't move fast, over 40, but, I think the problem is it's a straightaway and people are well over, sir, it's 35 there, is that correct? And then closer to the school, it goes down.
To 15.
Yeah.
It's a straightaway
Yeah.
and also.
And there's a traffic circle at the school.
Yeah. Just past.
Yeah, right.
And it's
Yeah.
also clear cut, 25 feet back on either side, so you have really good views and it just encourages people to go faster.
Bingo. Any other comments from Planning Commission? Anything else from the public or Zoom?
I have no other question for any other questions.
No, I'm looking it's been
Okay.
previously
Yeah.
approved before.
Yeah, the one radius on Pitch Pine Road is at a radius more for a minor street compared to a local street, and it's a tighter radius, and I think it's this one right here. It's on the back side of this road. It is going to be more, it's not a through road, it's just a little loop connection on this area here. The one radius here is 175-foot radius, which is a minor street. It's not a local road, and pretty much we think it is more of a minor street with it not being a through road.
I was going to say, I'm not someone that actually knows enough about that, so if somebody wants to say yes, no, maybe so.
This waiver was approved in 2018, so it's just a matter of approving it again to keep this plan on the law.
Okay.
Until it becomes, because this is part of essentially a master plan. There's going to be 3 phases proposed for this.
Mhm.
So when they bring back in the first phase, which I do believe encompasses that section. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just a little confused of why we don't have the entire master plan, but.
Yeah, it's more of a timing, and that one was developed, and then the permitting and the environmental
I
permitting.
was just saying the whole entire thing.
Well, we have it on the screen.
Yeah, it's in the,
sheet 2.
Okay.
it's in the.
Yeah, it's,
Sheet 2 on the plan sheet.
yeah, we've showed it for graphic
thank you.
purposes.
There you go. Oh,
Yeah,
God,
we've shown what's,
there we go, I'm not touching it.
Now, a lot of my questions have suddenly been answered. This makes so much more sense.
Look at your materials, Bill.
All right, so does anybody have any other questions? So my understanding is we're just,
No, so then there is a possibility that there could be connection at some point of the street to the other area, neighborhood, whereas at this point, it's just a gravel surface, but, okay.
I give a little background to that, Mr. Schmidt. It's
Yeah.
Tom Jacobs, Land Operations Director with SMA Homes. So as Mark alluded to, as you can see there, we kind of have the reserve and the reserve east on 2 separate parcels. There were some environmental impacts with the nursery being on the reserve property. So these were permitted at 2 different times. Permitting terminates on that in December of 2024. It is our intent, if there's not active sewer service at that time, and development can be underway before that, to combine these 2 plans at that time, which would be December 2024.
Okay. Because that was the former college. That was the nursery for college. Yeah, okay. Hey, thank you, appreciate that.
so we have no other comments?
I don't have any other comments. And then, in terms of the waiver, that's contingent on what it was in 18.
Yeah.
We're just reapproving everything to move forward.
So should we motion to extend
Yeah,
it?
right. So-
Motion to approve, yes.
Motion to approve?
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
And then,
Okay, all those in favor of reapproving the reserve subdivision plan, please say aye.
just one
Aye.
question.
Sure.
There's nothing that you guys need or
We
questions?
just want to make sure that your motion includes
The conditions.
The condition,
all the
yeah.
conditions, the waiver, and then the parkland proposal.
Okay.
May I
Yeah,
make
and
a-
that's all listed in the agenda, so if you want to say, approve it as listed in
Yeah.
the agenda.
May I make a
think
friendly
that would be
amendment to
fine.
your motion of, we approve the motion per everything that's in the agenda items?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so can I have a second to the main motion that we approve based on having included everything that's in the posted meeting agenda items?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All All those opposed say no. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you.
I was making a joke with the principal at Gray's Woods that they're going to need a second floor soon.
They're gonna need a second floor for my daughter.
Well, I don't think that building allows for it from a structural standpoint. Okay.
They're an engineer here, we can ask him.
Yeah, I can, yeah. Okay, we have nothing on, report on pending items. In other business, September 27th, at the Board of Supervisors, the rezoning request for 160 Clearview Avenue West was forwarded to the CRPC. The township will end zoning officer services to Half Moon. Patton Township will provide services until the end of 2023. At the October 25th Board of Supervisors meeting, there was approval of the sewage plan module for the K. Stewart subdivision that we discussed earlier. There was also a public hearing that is set for November 15th to consider the ordinance to officially withdraw from the COG local planning program. Okay. And I think you sent you communicated that to us.
Yeah, so Leslie Warner is no longer with the COG. She left due to some family health
Right.
issues. And so the Board of Supervisors had previously indicated their intent to withdraw from local planning January 1st, 2025. This was before Leslie actually left, and we were dropping our planning services from 50% to 40% for 2024. The issue that we are now facing in the Center Region is that the Center Region has this many local land use planners, and the planning director is retiring November 22nd, and the new planning director is starting November 20th. So I think the new planning director, he's coming from Colorado. He seems to have a good handle on things in an area of this type, and I'm hopeful that he'll be able to attract some planners. Planners are hard positions to fill. So conversation moving forward, we have Ferguson Township that will be helping us out with plan reviews, but because of the way the COG articles of agreement are written, we have to pay the COG for a full year of planning services, even though we may not be getting those services from them. So we're essentially paying twice for services that we're only getting once, in this case from Ferguson. So we had discussed and tried to broker a deal where they would have allowed, it's not just Patton, it's Patton, Half Moon, and Harris, to leave after 6 months and then have us just pay 10%, so no one else is impacted, by us leaving, and then we could go out and hire our own planner, which is our intent and why we want to leave in January of 2025. That deal was never brought forward to the elected officials, even though we had discussed it and we were told it was going to be brought forward. So we're in a world of hurt right now when it comes to planning, just because of we're really hamstrung and can't go out and do our own thing. I am hopeful the new planning director, I've not met him, but I watched the presentation he gave during his interview, and his presentation was excellent. He's done a lot of mentoring of young planners. So I'm hopeful that maybe he'll be able to attract younger planners here, and even if they don't stay for the rest of their careers, they stay 3 or 4 years and move on. We get a reputation as a place for good planners to start out, and that I think would help us immensely. But everything's sort of up in the air, and it's pretty unprecedented times in terms of the local planning program.
Do we have any, do they have a degree for that at Penn State?
Yeah, actually, they had a very good intern over the summer who came from Penn State and wants to be a local planner. So, and he was actually doing some assisting them a little bit after Mark Bokel had left to be the manager in Harris Township. So he had come back and was assisting. So they do have a planning program at Penn State.
So can we possibly fill it with like internships or co-ops or something?
Yeah, I think everything's pretty much on the table. And what I liked about this new planning director who's coming on board is that that's what he did in Colorado. He coached up and mentored a lot of young planners. And then they would move on, but they moved on in an area that was around him, so we knew there was good planning going on adjacent to the city he was working for. So some kind of structure like that, I think, would really help us.
Okay. I have a question on the 160 West Clearview Avenue.
Sure.
CRPC meeting was canceled due to lack of a quorum.
Yes.
Is Jim May going to look at that?
Yeah, so Jim May provided a letter to me on Friday with his comments, which basically just said that the rezoning was consistent with the long-range plans for the COG, and so they were okay with the R3 rezoning. So the plan now is, I don't want to put this forward, the board is working on the budget right now, and the year-end stuff, so I don't want this to be rushed and missed with the holidays, so we'll put this on their, hopefully their second meeting in January for action, and that'll give us enough time to post the property, do the advertising, but also let the folks in the neighborhood know in case they want to come to the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and then I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, just a reminder that on November 28th, we have a planning commission training, if you'd like to go, at the College Township building from 6 to 8:30.
And I would just really encourage, I know a couple of you have reached out and you already want to go, which is awesome. I would encourage all of you to consider going. I think, and we'll pay for you to go, the township will pay for that, but I think it's a worthwhile training. It's going to delve into kind of your role, what you do for the township, maybe answer some of your questions that you might have. And since we don't have a planner right now, we were going to do robust training for you guys. We were going to try to incorporate that into your meetings, and that's been put on hold, obviously, since we don't have Leslie anymore. So moving forward, it's something we want to do, but if you have the time on November 28th, I highly encourage you, and just shoot me an email, and I'll get everybody registered.
Okay, thank you. Anything else before we have a motion to adjourn? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.